I'm a software engineer in Meliora Technologies. Just to introduce myself fully, I head the software development team here. So my duty here is very simple. So I'm not here to have so much, we talk so much about the software development part. I think we'll get another chance to do that. Today, I'm just here to do a very simple thing. And the simple thing that I'll be doing today is just on Git. And I'll try to explain what Git is. I'll use a very simple example. See what we can learn in terms of Git. Please just have your questions recorded somewhere. And also in case you want to see my face, I don't know if you can see me. Yeah, this is me. So that you don't focus on my face, let me put the face off and then focus on the content. You can see the content.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So in case you have a question, please you can ask. You can ask me in case you want to stop me somewhere to maybe explain something that I've maybe moved a little bit too fast. That's within your rights, so please do, and responsibilities too. So the first part that we'll be talking about is Git. So I don't want you guys to focus on the taking of the notes. These will be shared with you or has already been shared. It's just a repo that I created very simple so that I can just put some notes there, and you'll see how by it was created very simply. So it's not like I spent the entire week working on this. So here we'll just be taking a look at Git, what it is, and in its simplest form. Git is a open source. It's a free open source version control system. Now, what is version control system? Let me give you an example. Yeah, let us assume that we are all working on something. Leave alone the project. Let us say we are writing some notes on, and we have some notes that we want to put for the bootcamp. Then at the end of it all, you see that we have the option of everyone writing their notes, or we could say we are taking notes, all of us. Now, you could come and say that I want to know what we start with an empty document for a starter. Then Mali will come and add some things. After that, someone else, at least I don't know your names, so I'll use arbitrary names. John will come and add something. Then after adding something, what John adds and what Hezron adds and what Nancy adds, we need to be able, first of all, to be able to attach this change to John. Otherwise, if we are not able to attach this change to John, we are not able to know who is it that is maybe who has added something or who has messed us up. Yeah, that's also very important to know. And in addition, it may not be very possible to for example, when a lecturer adds something, you may want to take that with a more serious, I don't know, in case you are in a group or something, you want to take that more seriously than when Peter just puts a few things there. So now version control ensures that you can always go back to what what was there before. So it's not like someone just deletes your things and that is it. So I'll focus on two things here. It's distributed and the version control. I've talked about the version control and we have understood the version. So a version is like checkpoints within a document or within a project. And we say, at this point, the data looked like this. At this point, the data looks like this. The other part I want to say is distributed. Git is distributed. And what that means is that the principle of distribution is very simple. You work on something from where you are. Like there's your Git, there's my Git, there is a central Git somewhere. So that is exactly what it means. That Samson will have their own Git. Nancy will have their own Git and Philip will have their own Git. Then we'll have one Git at the GitHub, let's say in this case, which is our central, and we'll be looking at that. Some of the places where you can put Git is when you're working alone and you want to push some data to the cloud. Yeah, we said that there's nothing like cloud, it's just another person's laptop. But yes, if you want it to be somewhere so that you can be able to access it anytime, you can use that. You can use Git for that. You can also use Git if you want, maybe if you are working together, let's say in a class project. That's a good example of a place where you can use Git. Another place where you can use Git very well is just what we are doing here. You guys are 3 in a group, you guys are 5 in a group. You have 2 mentors, let's say that, and you all need to help each other work together. So for that, you can very easily use Git and it will be very helpful to you. Yes, and when you go to work at your workplace, you will have to use Git. This is now not optional. And let me just take something back. It's not a must that you use Git. It's a must that you use a version control system. Otherwise, you'll be sharing files like is 1922 and moving it with flash disks, which is a little bit extreme. But people who did that, please, have not attacked you. Hi, Kamocha. Yes. There are people who used to copy data in flash disks and leave alone flash disks, the floppy disks, and move with them around. Take to the colleague and tell them, yeah, my changes. We are past that. Yes. So, that was the essence, to attack. Now, let us go to the installation, and I'll not put a lot of focus on this. So Git is actually free and very easy to install. So it's very easy to just install Git, and there I've left some resources there that can help you to install. But if you go here, you just find some way to install and check the version. I'll not focus on that. So I want us to talk about the configuration and the configuration of Git. And for this person, there are people who call it Git. I think that's okay. But and I'm seeing some people sharing some additional resources. That's very good. I also have some additional resources down here. We'll share them all together and be able to understand. So the configuration, and I hear people say Git. I'm not expert in that, in pronunciation. So please, whatever you say, as long as you're talking about a version control solution, that's okay. Just before I leave, and this is a side note, I love several side notes. Git is not the only version control system that exists. Anyone who knows another version control system, please don't Google. Okay, you can Google.
Bitbucket.
Bitbucket is okay, not likely. And I'll take that. Thank you. And I'll explain what is the difference between Git, GitHub, and Bitbucket. Anyone who knows another version control solution?
I have stolen those answer. Subversion.
Now Subversion here, Mercurial. That's okay. GitLab, no. So let me explain to you what those are. Okay, so there are implementations of Git in the cloud. I'll just put them that in a very simple way. When you talk about repository, and we'll find that repository to kona yetu, we have a local repository, we have a remote repository. So for us to have a remote repository, we need to have an installation of Git somewhere online where it is accessible to many people. So that's what you call it's rather a VCS server. It's a server in this case, and I don't know if you have heard about server. So Git, it's like a Git server. And now Git servers is where we have GitHub as a Git server. You can do Git, but on the server. And that's the same place we have, I think GitLab should be there. Bitbucket should be there. So all those are Git. However, the Mercurial, it's very different. Even instead of putting Git, you put HCG, which was the chemical formula for mercury if you did chemistry back in the days. Mercurial and SVN is another. It's the subversion. It's another. So thank you. But at least I hope that makes sense. That GitHub is just an implementation of Git. It's not like another option apart from using Git. That makes sense? Okay, so this is how you configure, and the reason for configuring is so that when you are putting your versions, we know who this is. So please put your real name here. Put something that can identify you, your name, your email. If you're not configured your Git, please go and run these commands. As I said, I'll share this and I'll even update it better so that we are together. Now let me talk about repositories. This thing was for this one I want to share this first of all, and I want us to look at a repository. So this is another term that I want us to read. We have defined what is version control and what is a version control server. So to say version control is Git, Mercurial, and Subversion. The idea is for us to have versions of what we are working on. Then we have said that a server is like it's an implementation of Git online. For that, we have said Kitukama, GitLab, Bitbucket, and GitHub, which is very, very common. So let us now go to a repository. What is a repository? This, you can think of it as a project. And the idea behind it is very simple. It is a way to track all the versions. So versions in this case are tracked within a repository. So if you look at a repository, and we now be coming here, because I've already done installation, I've already done a config. If you go to, and for this, I think I'll have to share my entire screen, touch this terminal so that allow me to do another sharing where I share my entire screen. Yes. So if I do a less here and allow me to look here, I have a .git folder. Can you see it? So that's a mark. Oh, sorry. That's a mark for this is the repository. So if you want to create a repository, you can go to a place and then you can do git init, and then it will initialize. Mine is now initializing. And with that, you have to work within a repository. If I'm here, if you look here, I think you will just see things which are not ready. You may not see .git somewhere. So if I do git status or I do another git command, I'll be told this is not a git repository. So you have to do this within a git repository. So for me, mine is called Overcome Your Fear Git, which is something that I'm hoping that we do by the end of this set of sessions. We get to overcome fear, because nothing is complex. It's just a way. Once you do something, you are able to do more. So we have configured. We have understood what is a repository. Now we can also have a remote repository like this. These are also a repository. And if you go to GitHub, you'll be told create repository. So you can also have the repository created in Git here, Bitbucket, Git here, GitHub. So you can go and for that, I think I had shared my notes. In my notes, I'd said that to create a remote repository, you can just use the UI controls. For example, if you are within GitHub, you can go to your profile and then you can create repository. Under repositories, you can create repository. And I think that's okay. So and yeah, you can just put other things. You can say whether it's private or public. Remember, locally, it's private. It's only accessible to you. So we had no chance of putting these things. Yes. So I hope that makes sense for what a repository is and why we use it. And at this point, I don't know if you can go to a repository if you have, and then you can look at several things in that repository. Is it possible for each and every one of you to go to a repository? If you don't have, you can initialize one. Then because now we are going to work in. And as you go there, I want to explain two things. There's something that you call working areas. So this is just a term. Don't let it not make your life difficult. But we have a staging area. Basically, staging area, we have staged and unstaged changes. Okay, assume stage. Come on, you went to JQuat like me. Kuna stages for Metro. There is a stage there which is a Super Metro stage. And now, just think of it as a bus stage. Any other stage for in case you never went to where I went. Now, think about it. In that place, anyone who is at the stage will go. If the bus comes, they will go. Anyone who is not yet in the stage needs first of all to come to the stage, then they can go. Does that make sense? So in this case, staging are files that are being tracked and they will be part of the next version. And remember, a version in Git is a commit. So that's another side note. If you hear version, in Git is represented as a commit. So commit is a version. Remember branches, I will talk about branches here. A branch is not a commit. Is that okay? So, and stage changes are changes which have not yet gone to the stage. So you need to move them to the stage using git add command. So when you add, it's like you are moving someone from outside into the stage. Then from there, they can proceed to maybe to travel, or in this case, to be sent to be part of our changes. So for this one, this one, you look at these commands, but I'll just want to come here and do git status. So this one is a command that will give you the status of your information of your current project. Assuming I come and I put a new file here, tests. Okay, as this is a touch, it just creates a new file. You can use cat, you can use whatever. Now, if I do git status, what should I expect? There is a new file which is not being tracked. So you can look at here, it is not in there, it's untracked. So it's not in the staging. So even if I do commit, it won't go to the commit. Added test file. It won't go. So I'll be told nothing to commit. They are only untracked changes. So this commit has not gone. Is that okay? Because it contains nothing. So what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to use the first command, for which the first command will be git add. So I'll add this to add the test file. You can either add the file or you can just add the folder. Remember, this is the current folder, all of it, in case you have another file. So let me touch test2. So in case now I check it, I have two files. So I can either add test and then add test2, or I can say to add, this will also add them, or I can say to add everything in the current folder. Now, if I check out, I'll find that there are changes to be committed. Now, these are stage changes. If you are using something like mine, you can see that there's a difference in color. The untracked changes are red and the tracked changes are green in color. I hope that's visible enough. So in this case, I have added two files. Now, that explains the first command, where I've done a status to see what is it that's happening. And I can also see which branch am I in. So it just tells you, is it with the origin? And I'll explain a little bit about origin in a few. So once I do that, I can commit. And under commit, I have in my bonus lessons here, I have told you guys about writing correct commit messages. I have not committed. Don't come here and put added files. This is not helpful to anyone. So just come and put, what have we done? Added empty files named test and test2. Okay, there's no perfect one, but this at least is descriptive. It gives more information about what we have added. So according to me and the people we work with, we always encourage them to put some more information to the commit. So once you do that, you can see files have been added. So I can do git status, and I can see that, yes, now the changes have been committed, but because I have a remote repository, which I did this, I cloned the URL from here. I cloned it. So now I have two repositories. Kuna yenye kwa laptop yangu, the one in my laptop and the one which is remote. So what I'm supposed to do in that case, I'm supposed to push. Git push will take my changes from my laptop. That's the Git in my laptop, and take them to the Git in my VCS how? The best thing is that if you are using GitHub, if you are using Bitbucket as a VCS server, the same command will be used. So for this case, I can do git push. Now, just to be okay, this is it. So I've pushed. Now I've pushed. My changes have gone. So if I come to my project and I refresh, do a refresh here, I'll find that I have added test 2 and test 3. Test and test 2. Those are the files that have been added. Remember, it's not about adding. I can also come here and delete and test 2. I can just remove test and say this guy does not care, and look at it, and then the change now is deleted. Git commit, and then I can say deleted empty file test, and then oh sorry, I never added. So you remember any. For this case, I can also add, or I can just add the file. So git status, always do git status so that you confirm that, then commit and say deleted empty file. And this one you can also push, and if you push, it will come here and will realize now the file no longer exists. The test has gone. However, now is where we talk about versions. I want to do something called git log, and I want us to take a look at what has happened, at least at this point. So for the first thing, so if the git log is it's inverted. This is the most recent one. Deleted empty file, and then added empty file. So I added empty files, then I deleted them. I started long here. I added readme with instructions. I added images, added empty files, and then I deleted the empty file. Assuming this, I did this by mistake. What can I do? I can come here, look for this commit ID, and then I can come here and say, go back to the commit ID. I think, yes, git check out this. And now, if you look at it now, you'll realize that, let me go to my project. If I open this in VS Code once again, the way it was opened, you'll realize that my test has come back. So what I've given you is just what is in that file, but in the very practical sense. That now I do status, and I'm told that I am in a detached at this commit. So assuming I want to make changes, I can make changes on this commit, I can ignore the other commit, I can do everything else that I want. That's why we said the commit is a version, because this is a version that the project was. And now that said, I want to make another side note. Please take note of these side notes, they are very important. Our guy, whom we said is a version, which is a commit. Don't put extra large commits in your project. Why? Because you'll have a very large version. Rather work with smaller versions. If you make a change, make a version, and this goes to the both experienced and the inexperienced developers in the maybe if you have very experienced level, irrespective of the level of experience, even if it's 1 day or a few decades, you need to follow this rule, because I find at times someone bringing you a commit which has edited 100 files, and you may not be able to work very well with that. So I don't know if there's any question before we proceed with our just the normal way. So in case this change, now you need this change. Let's assume this change was not made in my. I'm not the one who made this change. It's Nancy who made this change on their side. So in this case, yes, I'm going to answer you right away. In this case, what I'm supposed to do, if I want the changes that are online, I'm supposed I'm supposed to pull them. Where I said pull is two things: fetch, then merge. Pull is a combination of two commands. So now, so you can let us assume that let us come here and do let us check out to our branch. So we just go back and now we are back. So if we do git revert, that's a question that was asked. Remember, we have the options. So revert, remember the question of checkout, we checked it to a commit and then we are able to come back. Now revert, it's for undoing, it's for going back. And now the problem with revert, you're not moving the pointer. It actually moves everything. So if I revert to this commit, let's say, and now I do git status, and let us see, and then git log. What will happen? You look at the I deleted empty file, added empty file. Now I've created a commit that I've reverted this. I've reverted the adding of empty files. Reverted this one, so reverted to this one. So it has reverted this commit, and so it has taken me to this. Yes. So if git revert is more of is more of the things that you need to avoid, because it has now, okay, you can always check out to the commit that to the earlier commit, but it has more like taking it back. So if I now look at my files now in this, you realize that I've gone to that, I've reverted, and let us look at how the revert guy did. Because what did we revert? We reverted that 38B. So which commits are there? I want us to just begin and look here. So the commits that we have are they were D. This was the new one. So we reverted this, which basically took the commits, all our commits from this. So it took us all the way before we hit. So it took out this commit and anything that is after it. So I hope that makes sense. That revert actually takes us back to before that commit. So it has taken us to before this commit. So if you look at now the recent commit, it will be this one, B5. Okay, these ones exist because a revert. Remember, a revert is just another commit. We don't lose our changes in Git either way. So you can to proceed. You need to maybe check out to the earlier commit before you did the revert. Some other yes, maybe some a little complication over there. So for this one, I want us to check out back to our commit, which is this one, and proceed with our lives before the revert. But remember now the branch has moved. The branch has moved. So where we are at a detached place. The branch has moved. We are at a change. And that takes me to the next part, which is branches. Before I use so many things on branches, I want to explain what branches are. A branch is a line of development. Yeah. So a branch is a line of development, meaning a branch can contain one or multiple or more commits. And you can divert at some point. Let us assume that, so for this one, I don't have a natural way of explaining branches, by the way. I love natural ways of explanation, but a branch does not have a very natural way of explanation. But you can find yourself working on a certain line of development. It's like you leave the same place, but at some point you take another, let's take a question of buses. You take a bus to a certain place, then after that you have a choice of alighting and taking another bus. So for this one, if you look at these as several bus stages, you can get to this point, then you can decide to divert and move to another route. So at this point, the question of branches is very important, so that some other person can have other commits while this other person is having other commits, and then at some point they can do the merge. In merging, you said it's one of the trickiest thing, and that's where I'm coming, which is the pull request, review, and conflicts. But for the branch, you are able to look at which branch am I in. I'm in a detached state, so I can check out to main, which we said our main has removed our files, so it's okay. I don't know how to undo revert. Please, if you have not done undoing of revert, so if you have done this, please talk to me. But before let me check out the earlier command to the commit. For this part, I can create a branch, and the branch is really very simple. So I'll say git branch, and I'll just put a funny name, and I'll say let me just put a development. And now if I do git status, I find that I'm still in the detached state. But if I do git branch and then I do list, I hope that works. I have a branch called development. And now, if I want to get to that branch, I can check out the branch. And if I check out now, remember I created the branch while I was in the nearest branch that was in master. So I was in main. So when you create the branch, you create it from a certain point. At this point, our branch was created from main. So if I want to make these changes go to another branch, I can very easily do this, and I can check out to the commit, again. And once at this point, I can do git checkout, and then I can say the branch name. So this will create the branch, and then I'll put a detached branch. And now if I go to that detached branch, I find now my changes should be there. Yes, my changes are my changes are also in develop. So this is like doing both of them at the same time, where it is you create the branch and then you check out. So this is the same thing. You can put these commands in one. Check out branch name, or you can say git create the branch and then check out. You can create the branch, git branch test branch, and then you can say after that you can say git check out test branch. If you have a lot of work, the question of time being very limited, you can just put this, and then this creates the branch. Yes. So these commands, you'll find them there. I'll also add my list, and in case you want to delete a branch, you can git branch fnd. However, I would like to discourage against this, because by deleting a branch, unless you are very sure that it doesn't help you, deleting a branch, let's say development, deleting a branch really takes can really mess you up. So don't focus on this. Please don't use this command. An existing branch does not harm you. But if it is deleted, you can lose all your changes. And now remember, we said a branch is a line of development. If you delete a branch, it goes with all its commits. That's where we find to a point where the version control may not help you. If you are within the branch, even if you undo a commit, you can always go back to it as long as you had committed. But if you delete the branch, remember the entire branch is going with all its commits. So please don't do this. This command should come with a warning, parental guidance. Git merge. Let us assume that for this case, I'll just come and I say now I'm in branch, detached branch. Okay, so it's a detached branch. Please, it's a real branch name called that. So if you do git branch -n list, you find that it's a real branch called detached branch. Let me assume that I go and make my changes. So I come and I say some text from a detached branch. And that is it. So what can I do? Remember, I'm in this state. I can add the changes. I can commit, and I can say that added some content to test 2. So that's okay. Now the question is very simple. Remember, this branch does not have, by the way, this branch does not exist in GitHub. So the question is very simple. What if I want the branch main? So if I check out to main, is it main? It doesn't have this. It doesn't have this. What if I want the branch main to contain this change? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to go back to my detached branch, and then I'm supposed to merge, and then I say main. And life has a way of dealing with you properly. Yes, it has already introduced some conflicts. It has told us cannot. This won't happen, can't happen, won't happen. So there is I think the revert that we did messed us something up. So this conflict that we have is not very direct, deleted by them. So it has deleted by we have been told that this file that we are changing has been deleted by these guys. So for that, I want to just ignore it. And for that, I'll merge, I'll abort the merge, git merge abort. And once I do that, I'm back to my branch. So I'll deal with another, I'll create another branch, I'll check out to main. And then I'll git checkout, create another branch from. Most of the time when you are merging, you need to have that branch needs to have been your origin. Otherwise, you will get into issues that like you have quoted. So I'll check out another branch and I say, I don't know, I'll just call it smaller main. And I'll challenge myself in a few. So these I want to put something, I want to come and add a file here. And I put test3. And once I put test3, I put some content from test3. So for this one, what I'll do is now from this branch called smaller main, if I add the new guy, and then I commit and I say added some content to file test3. If I do that now, remember these changes don't exist in the main, so I can do git merge main. And if I do that, it goes and I can, if I check out to main, git checkout main, the file does not exist. So I can come here and I git merge the source branch. So my source branch is a smaller main. And yes, now the file has been created here. So I'm in branch main. It has gotten the changes from the other guy. So basically to merge, you need to be within the destination. What you put here is the source. So I have some error in my notes, which I'll be fixing. So git merge, it's actually taking the changes from the smaller main into this branch. Now, what are conflicts? And that will be one of our last topics. The conflicts in this case, let us start with pull requests. You can, if you in GitHub, if you're in Bitbucket, is there anyone who wants to know something? Okay. If you are in GitHub, Bitbucket, maybe you may have heard of a pull request. So a pull request, I'll be very honest with you, is a collection of features in Git, but not one feature. There's no command to do a pull request. But in the VCS server, it's one command. So for this case, it's a feature for on many remote VCS solutions, and it allows you to tell others the changes that you have made on your side. And then they can review, they can discuss, they can tell you this is not right. You can do whatever, and if they are satisfied with your changes, then they can merge the merge that you have done. So let us assume that we broke off from our teams, and we did several changes here. We'll be doing a pull request at this point, which will be checking our changes versus the branch that we came from, which is here. Then someone will look at these changes, this commit and this commit, and once they are satisfied, then they can say, okay, now they can be merged to the source branch where it came from. So for this part, a pull request, that is the idea. So you'll find a lot of pull requests. My idea about to everyone is take the review process in pull requests very seriously. It's very helpful to you. So the review is where is checking changes against what you have. We have some highlights. My only highlights to you is please, if you are creating a pull request, help the people who are reviewing. If you did a UI, put some screenshots. Remember, someone is supposed to check whether your changes are okay. If you did something like backend, please put something. Maybe put tests in your code so that someone is able to see how it is proceeding. And take it seriously, the review process. Don't just go there and approve and merge because you have been told you can. No, please take it seriously and let it be a place where you will learn. And we will be taking you guys through the review process. And I hope you have seen it somewhere. Yes, conflicts is what we saw. A conflict ensues this way. Let us assume that I am in master. I come here and I put some other content from master. Yes, and that is it from main. So the main branch at times is called master, GitHub called theirs main. It has something to do with the slavery and all those things. So for that, I think yes, they decided to adopt the word main instead of the master. So added content to line 2 of test. So now my question to you is very simple. What if I go to my smaller branch, which I, for some reason I named this smaller main, I don't even know why. And I go and I make some other changes. Some change from smaller main. And I add them. Test 3. Then I commit. Added changes to line 2 on smaller main. So now, if I try to merge from where? From wherever. So I try to merge main here. What do I say? What will I get a conflict? Why? Because, and these now are real conflicts. These are real conflict. You can see my screen, yeah? So what is telling me is that your change, you put a change in this line and say that some change from smaller main. But the other guy we are seeing also put a change and some content from the other, some other content from me. Which one do I pick as Git? Can you see the essence of essence of having a conflict in that case? I hope that's a silent yes, because Git is not able to know who exactly to move. So there are two options. I like the third one. There's an option where you can merge and merge theirs or merge yours. You can do that with command. Please go and see how you can do that. You can do, I think, git merge, then conflict theirs, something. Then there's the other one. Those don't work. If you merge ours, then it means if you merge ours, it means what is in main. Remember, we are in smaller main, yeah? If we merge ours, the current change, then remember it's like accepting the current change. What is in main will get lost. If I accept the current change, it will look like this. If I accept the incoming change, mine is gone. So most of the time, your work is just to accept both changes, but this has to be a manual process. Once you accept both changes, what can you do? You can now come here and do git status. Then you can say git add test 3. And now your commit will be that I have fixed conflict with main. So sorry, with main by adding all changes. And that is it. So I'm not pushing in this case because my browser does not exist in the remote. So to avoid conflicts, basically, and I've shared out to resolve a conflict. Share work well in a way that everyone is working on a certain line of change. So you're not working all of you on the same file. If you work on the same file, you'll get conflicts. That's the first option. Second option, in case you are working on related files, please do quick commits and then pull. Quick commit, push, then pull. That way, the other person is going to pull so that they will work from your changes. Because if I had already merged with main, I had pulled from main before I wrote my content, remember I would have gotten this change. Then I would have added mine. So I would have avoided conflict. They take a lot of your time. Please let us take a look at that. Now I am going to my final thing. I don't know if there's any question. Please, if you have another question, just put it on the chat, or you can also interrupt. That's very much encouraged. The last thing, branching. Now I've told you how to create branches, and that was very okay. It was wrong. Reason. How do we need to put some rules as to how we create branches. Otherwise, someone will create a branch and call it A. Git won't have a problem with what? With that. And then someone will come and create a branch called B. But what is A? If you do git branch, if you find list, you'll find there's a branch A somewhere. Why? What is A? So we need to put, when we are creating the branches, we need to ensure that the names are descriptive. And most of the time we use the hyphen. I don't know which case is that. The hyphen, where like you can say adding API users. That's a branch name. Now Git repositories come with a default branch. Most of the time, oh yeah, you can do it, Michael, when doing a Git merge, you can do it wherever. You can do it in whichever other editor. I think VS Code provides a very easy interface to do it. You can also do it on the web. You can also do it on any, or just anywhere else you can do it. Yeah, so I hope I've answered you. Yeah, you can do it somewhere else. But there are some editors which have, like VS Code has a good way of fixing. You see, we just clicked things. Most of the time you would have to edit that part that they have included and some other things. I think you will find these when you are working on it, and you find those conflicts. Some developers also create a new branch, commonly called develop or development, which is a destination branch for development work. So you have the main branch, which is master or main. Then you can create another branch which will handle development work. Think about it this way: the main branch contains stable code, the code which is do you ensure stability. Code which goes to the main has been tested by the QA, not just you. By the QA, it is fine. But code which is in develop is what you have reviewed together. So you have reviewed, you have seen it's okay, but has not been tested by the QA. But in that case, you will not be deploying what is on develop. You'll be deploying what is on the master. And these, I know these may not make a lot of sense, but it will very soon. Which product do you use commonly? Which product are you guys using? Let me get an example. I'm using MySQL, Java. The solutions that you use, you'll find yourself having a stable version, a beta version. Yes, even JavaScript. You'll find that there's a new release of JavaScript, one which is very stable. Let's go to OSS. Ubuntu. Some of you are using 20 like mine, I think is 21.04. Could be 20 point something else. 20.1, which 10, which I never used. Why? It was not a long-term support. So it was a release, but not a long-term. You could also decide to be the people who don't care about problems and decide I'll run my desktop, my laptop in this case, on the ever-changing develop branch of Ubuntu's code. Yes, and you go there. If you're using Ubuntu, you can go there. I don't think Windows, you have that luxury. They will say no, but you can go there and you are just working on their. Well, if they do a change, you can upgrade your guide. So you'll be moving very fast, but remember, this code is not thoroughly tested. What has been thoroughly tested most of the time is the main, is what is in the main. So the branches can also have a prefix. The prefix helps us make the branch, I would say, intuitive. It makes it the naming and be better. So for this case, some of the common prefix is feature. So you can actually call your branch feature/create users. You can come here and say git branch feature/create -users. Well, that's a good branch because someone will know it's a feature. And features is what you're working on. Bug fixes represent things that you are working like there was a problem, now you're trying to fix it. Maybe you encountered a problem, you realize that you can no longer connect to the DB. Now you're trying to fix it. But hotfix refers to delivering a quick fix in production. I'll fix the English there. So this is like you're in production, then someone tells you, all of a sudden Kafka is failing. Then you realize, hey, there's somewhere where you left something and you do a hotfix. A release is like what we are talking about, Ubuntu 20.1. We never said Ubuntu develop. Ubuntu, it's something that has been packaged together and delivered to the users. So that's a release. Yes. A good branching policy will help us in two ways. First of all, improve traceability. And second, prevent conflict. Improving traceability is very important. For example, if today MySQL 5.7 has an issue, then we have MySQL 5.8. Okay. MySQL 8. Actually, I don't think we have 5.8. Yeah, MySQL 8, 8.0. And let's assume now they are at 8.7. Let me make that assumption. If a bug affects MySQL 5.7, that's 5.72, you need to be able to isolate 5.72 and do your fix from there. And then propagate it in case it also exists in the other guys, propagate it to everyone else. So that's one of the good aspects of having a good branching policy. Remember, if you only add master and develop, how exactly do you help this game? How do you know first of all this is 5.7 and all those things? So branches help us in that. Also, the question of release, and we'll be seeing that in GitOps here. Yes. It also helps us in that, because if you have done a release, you remember we said branch 5.72 will correspond to release 5.72. So we are now back to the bonuses, which I'll just go through them in 5 minutes. First of all, issues. For most of the software planning is done outside the branch. It is done by issue tracking solution. For this one, you'll find someone like Jira, Atlassian. You'll find Bitbucket have their own issues, GitHub have their own issues. There are other solutions. There is Trello. Is it Trello? There are many other solutions which have issues. So at times, it's also good to go to the issue, then come, because at that point you can have discussions. You can track through. You can see how long it has stayed. But a branch, remember, a branch you may not really track, because like a branch like master, it will live forever. So can you take that and say this master branch has stayed for too long? It is supposed to be, it's meant to stay for that long. For commit messages, I would like you to use descriptive names. Be very direct, but also put like try to explain what you did, not what you wanted to do or what you are expected to achieve. Just be direct and say, this is what I've done. So there's also something called multi-line commits. So what you can do in that case, you can just go git commit. I hope you can see my screen. Put the open quote in case you're in Linux. I don't know, but most of the Git terminals allow this. Then you can come and say one. Added index, added CSS extension, import CSS. Let's say imported CSS imported CSS in the index.html file. 2, added images. There. You see, now that is an example of so you can do it this way. Then once you are done, you can just put once you are done with 2, once you're done with another something, then 3 you can do just 3, you can put whatever text you want to put, then you can put this one. So once you do that, then you are done. That can help you in putting multi-line commits. Credential cache, this in case instead of typing for credentials actually have two issues. There is the authentication options, SSH and and app passwords. You can use this, but if you are pushing and pulling, you may be asked for your credentials. Then you can cache them so that they don't you don't have to keep typing them. That's just an addition. Stashing. At times you want to keep your changes until you need them. So you just have changes that you have not untracked changes which you want to keep. So for that, what you can do git stash, and if you ever want them, you can do git stash for example, touch test4. Then git status. If I do git stash for this point, I have been told no local changes to save because I've not tracked anything. So I'm supposed to put test4 into the track. Then once I have it in the track, I can now stash. Once I stash, it has been saved to the working directory. You see? So if I look at it now, I don't have anything else. So assuming I also bring touch 5, test 5, and I'm using this, I have to add it, test 5. Then I also git stash. The stash is a stack. So if I stash, then if I do git stash pop, which is and stash rather, think about it that way. What has been brought to me? It is test 5. So if I want to bring test 4, which is stash originally, I have to do git stash pop again. And now I have this was also been popped. So that is, you can use that stashing. You can also go and look. You can remember stashing is also not dependent on the branch. You can go to another branch and still stash or pop from there, and it works. So use these links to create SSH keys and app passwords for the sake of authentication. I know you may have faced this problem. You guys are moving away from password because they're insecure. Markdown, and this is good news that I've written all these data here in Markdown. Markdown is a markup language, just like HTML and all those. It's a very simple text markup language, and it is used to format. You can add some format to plain text. Like I have added links, I've added images, so you can. I think you can take a look at how to learn Markdown. I'll put something here. Some people ask about GitOps. GitOps, we'll have a bigger discussion next week, but GitOps is a way of implementing continuous deployment, and it incorporates VCS. It incorporates our collaboration, those pull requests and all those to automation. So it's like saying, if I push, do this. If a conflict is resolved, okay, conflict. If a pull request is merged, do this. So that's the idea of GitOps, and I don't want to include that question of CI/CD. There's a lot which is there. I don't need to know everything. I've added some things there. I've seen more links. I'll also add them here. Yes, I think that should take me to the end of my lesson on Git. I don't know if it was helpful, but it has met your expectation. And if it has not, you may raise your questions. Maybe if there's something that I have missed. There's a lot more that you need to learn in Git, but this will get you in your day-to-day activities. So keep learning on the Git. It's not a very wide thing, but at least it can be covered in an hour of lesson. I don't know if you have if anyone has a question, we can open it up for questions so that we can close. I tried to answer some questions as I was going on. So in case I've not answered your question, you can unmute and raise it. This has been shared, so don't worry about taking these notes. It will be shared with you guys. Yes. So Marlene, I think I'll take it back to you, and in case someone has a question, they can ask.
There's somebody with a question on the chat, Peter.
The question of Git flow.
Yes.
That has been answered by someone who uses Git flow. Evans has said that Git flow is a wrap around Git, and that allows one to create hotfixes and feature branches fast. Yes. Oh yeah, I covered Git fetch in a very fast way, but I said that Git pull, Git fetch will get you the updates from the remote repository, so that will give you all the updates. Then you can merge whichever branch you want. So if you are within a branch, you can do Git pull. Yes, so that answers the Git flow and also the question of Git fetch from Michael. In case you find that something is not clear, I would love to help. You can just comment, either comment on that repository, or you can comment on Slack, so that we ensure that we move together. Thank you guys for that, and I'll see you guys next week when you're talking about containers. Please, in case you have a question, you can ask it between now and And then, thank you guys.